So in this video, we're going to take a look into the disappearance of mother of two, Nicola Bulley. This lady went missing on January the 27th this year whilst walking her dog, and her disappearance currently still remains a mystery. Firstly, we're going to start off with a short newspaper article to bring everyone up to speed on the current developments concerning this case, and then we're going to hear from a forensic expert who seems to have a rather different opinion of what may have happened to this lady compared to that of the police and the current investigation. This is then going to be followed by some of my own thoughts and theories on where we stand with this case thus far.
A week ago, Nicola Bulley dropped her children off at school in the Lancashire village of St Michael's on Wyre and headed on foot along Blackpool Lane with her dog called Willow. Along this fairly busy road, she would have walked past the parish church before making her way over this footbridge which leads to the path by the River Wyre. Nicola began walking east along this path at around 8:43 a.m. Lancashire police say at 8:47 a.m. the mother of two bumped into another dog walker, seen here on CCTV in a red coat, on the lower field. Officers say the pair knew each other and their dogs interacted briefly before the woman, who they've now spoken to, left the field a short time later via the river path. 6 minutes later, at 8:53, Nicola used her phone to send her boss an email. And at 9:01 a.m, she joined a work Teams conference call. 9 minutes later, at 9:10, a second witness who also knows Nicola saw her, but this time on the upper field, and still with her dog Willow. The dog was off the lead and it wasn't in its harness, which officers say wasn't unusual and was all part of her daily routine. That was the last confirmed sighting of the 45-year-old. Police say they are particularly interested in what happened between then and 9:20 a.m. because they believe her phone was on this bench at 9:20. At 9:30, the work conference call ended, but Nicola's phone remained dialed in. Nicola's dog Willow was found by a witness at 9:33, running between this gate to the field and the bench where the phone was located. At the same time, Willow's harness was also discovered on the grass between the bench and the river's edge.
Search teams have examined the river all the way to the sea, which is 9.3 miles away, after Lancashire Constabulary said they believe Miss Bulley fell in. The river, which winds through the countryside on the edge of St Michael's on Wyre, has been described as notoriously dangerous at this time of year by a representative of St Michael's Angling Association. The combination of the depth and how cold it is at this time of year makes it very dangerous, the representative told The Times. A sign on a tree near the bench where Miss Bulley's phone was found reads, "Danger, deep water." Big rocks can be seen jutting out of the river, which appears calm at the sharp drop below the bench where Miss Bulley's phone was found. Superintendent Riley told reporters on Friday, "At the point where the bench is located, there is quite a steep drop to the river. Albeit not high, it is steep. Therefore, while I don't want to speculate as to what may have happened, it is our working hypothesis that she has entered the water accidentally." She continued, "The dog was off the lead. This was normal for the dog to run about, and Nicola was on a Teams call, which again it would be normal for her not to participate in actively and just have the phone to listen in. Anything could have happened with the dog whereby Nicola may have gone, and I don't wish to speculate, we don't know, but it is possible the dog was loose and off the lead, and there may have been an issue with the dog that led her to go near to the water's edge. She puts the phone down momentarily and Nicola may have fallen in. That is a possibility," Superintendent Riley added. She confirmed Miss Bulley can swim, but said searchers have been both wading in the River Wyre and diving beneath the surface due to the different water depths, though no conclusive evidence has been recovered as of yet.
I've worked on hundreds of these cases. We deal with them for the police across the whole of the South East. We're the official dive team for the police across the South East. The amount of searching that's gone on in this river, I would have thought she would have been found by now. Look, normally when a person drowns, if they are left a number of days, we've dealt with, say, many of these incidents, and they don't move very far. This is not a fast tidal river, so I would have expected her to be found by the police divers by now. Apparently sonar's been used, but that's only as good as the equipment or the operator using them. We could have scanned this river with our equipment within a day and seen if there was a body there. It's as clear as that. And none of this rings right to me. My belief is she's not in the river at all.
Peter, an awful lot of people are coming up with their own thoughts as to what has actually happened here. You're a forensic expert. Taking all the clues that you are aware of, what are the conclusions that you would draw from what has possibly happened here?
I personally think this phone could be a decoy. I mean, we dealt with a drowning a couple of years ago where a gentleman went into a river in Ripley. His dog was screaming by the riverbank when we got there, when we arrived, and it was howling and literally pointing exactly where he was. He stayed with his owner. And the phone on the bench, I mean, normally someone would have a phone in their hand, and if they, walking around, if she was making a call. Look, Nicola knew this area, and even the clothing, no one spoke how deep the water is actually at the bottom of the bank where it went in. I've heard rumours it's 18 inches deep at the edge. I mean, and the clothing she was wearing was not woolly clothing that absorbs water quickly. She seems a very fit person. Why were there no screams? Why were there no marks? And what I am surprised about is that the area hasn't been sealed off as a crime scene or for forensics. People have been walking past the bench. There's no police tape up. This would normally be sealed off as a crime scene. So potentially CSI, crime scene investigators, can go in and see if there's any microfibers, evidence, slip marks down the bank. And I don't believe that has actually happened here.
What about, sorry, I was just going to say, because loads of people emailed in yesterday about Fitbits. We know she was wearing a blue banded Fitbit, and people are saying, well, can't that be used? Now, admittedly, older Fitbits don't have the GPS tracking and things, they just log steps. But there is at least a possibility, isn't there, that could reveal some information?
Probably, Stephen, it's not my field, so I won't comment on that. But there's a lot of information stored on digital things. But at the end of the day, Nicola was last seen in the top field by the witness. There's nothing to say she couldn't have been kidnapped and dragged and put in a car and taken away, and someone could have put a mobile phone by the river as a decoy, or Nicola wanted to disappear herself. It just doesn't ring right. The amount of searches that's gone on in this river, the body, if there was a body in there, is no way going to go all the way down to the sea, not with us. That current. I mean, we fish people out all the time of rivers, and they just don't move that far unless the river's in flood. And this river is clearly not in flood. It's not moving fast enough, and it will drift very slightly if a body did. And normally, at this time of year, a body will normally resurface between 6 and 8 days as the body decomposes, it bloats, and the body comes to the surface. It's normally found by dog walkers if they're not found. And that's what I'm surprised about. And it's just they're doing a great job of searching, and that's the police divers. But I'm just wondering why. I mean, we've offered our equipment up there and our expertise, if required, to the family. And if they want it, we could search this river in a day and say Nicola's there or she's not. It's as simple as that.
So you think that the police have been clearly quite hasty in coming out with this conclusion?
Yeah, definitely. I've never heard of this. It's a very odd one. I mean, normally the police say we're keeping an open mind, Angela, on this type of case. I think it's a bit foolish coming out that she's gone in the river. Let's look at all the angles here. They'll be looking at cell site analysis of mobile phones. That can take a few days to do. But my big worry is the way it wasn't initially sealed off as a sort of a crime scene, so they could potentially gather more information on this.
Peter, have they actually asked you to come and help them? And, I mean, you clearly would be prepared to do so if they did.
We would do it absolutely free of charge. I mean, we've got millions of pounds worth of equipment. I work with the police every day. We're called in from Kent, Essex, Surrey, Sussex, Thames Valley and Hampshire. We've got the highest hit rate for finding bodies in the country. We would happily go up tomorrow morning and help them search if they come. I'm not going to turn up. I don't do that. That's unprofessional. If we are contacted by the police, we would do it free of charge for them and help this family find Nicola. At least our equipment, which is the best in the world, could actually scan that river and I could say categorically she is not in that river very, very quickly.
Well, look, I mean, let's hope someone takes you up on that. What about if the family asks you to do it privately?
We would, as long as the police gave us permission to attend, because I wouldn't want to. I work with the police every day. They're working extremely hard. It's very, very easily criticising the police. I'm not criticising the police. Some media reports of that. I'm certainly not. But we're offering our equipment to assist with this operation to speed up the search. And I say I've got I hold the police in the highest regard. But it needs wrapping up, this one, Stephen.
Could they be? I mean, it's all this speculation, which is very difficult. But the fact that they've come out with a working hypothesis, which, I mean, as you say, and as we know, is very, very strange, the way they've done this. Are they keeping their powder dry, perhaps, on other things they're looking into?
They will be looking into many other things. They'll be looking at other people within the family. They'll be looking at people who live locally, whether there's any sex attackers who live locally and things like this. I mean, we don't know. Nicola can be kidnapped and being held somewhere against her will. She might hopefully she'll still be alive. She may have just wandered off. But it's unusual because they've actually come out and said, we believe she's in the river, and then Nicola gets found somewhere else. The media would have a field day with them. So I think it's a bit just with a mobile phone by a river, that's not good enough evidence for me. This needs a lot. We need to clear that river, and then that can be ruled out completely, and then the focus can go elsewhere. If she's in the river, I'd be very surprised if she's not. Clearly, if the equipment used, if she's found in that river, has not been effective.
Okay, so I'm just going to cut in here and now share some of my own thoughts on the information that we know thus far. Now, looking online, almost immediately, we had quite a few people coming out and saying, this doesn't sound right, something seems amiss here, something's not adding up. And I guess I would share that sentiment to some degree. We had the police who came out very early on and said, look, we don't believe that there's a third party involved here. We don't believe this is a crime scene. We believe that this lady has simply fallen into the river, sadly. But over a week later, there's still no body. There's no indication either that this lady has fallen into the river. What I mean by that is there's no marks by the river's edge on the riverbank. There's no sort of disturbed undergrowth or any sort of indication physically that this lady has fallen into that river. Now, one point of interest that sticks out to me is the mobile phone of Nicola Bulley. Now, we know that that was found on the bench. A lot of people are assuming that this was placed there by Nicola Bulley. Maybe she got into difficulty or the dog got into difficulty in the river and she somehow slipped in. But let's try and look at this from a different perspective for one moment. What about if this mobile phone was dropped nearby? Maybe it was dropped in the mud, dropped nearby during some kind of struggle potentially. A passerby has then found that mobile phone, and if you do encounter a good Samaritan, shall we say, what's the first thing that they're going to do? They're going to pick that phone up and most likely put it on a bench, put it somewhere which is visible to someone who may come back later looking for their lost phone. One indicator which would tell me if that is a possibility is the condition of that mobile phone, but we don't know the condition of that handset. Was it clean? Was it dirty? Did it have mud on it? Did it look like it had been dropped? Sadly, at this point in time, we don't have that information. Another point worthy of mention is the fact that at this point in time, police haven't released any CCTV whatsoever of Nicola Bulley, neither dropping her children off at school, neither her on her walk or going toward her walk or toward that footpath. Nothing whatsoever, which is a little bit strange. I do find that quite odd. All we seem to have at this point in time are eyewitness accounts. Nothing in terms of CCTV, which they usually release to say, this is what this individual looked like when they disappeared, this is what they were wearing, and being able to demonstrate that, as I say, via CCTV. But that hasn't been released by the police. Which then leads me on to another intriguing question. Why are the police so sure that she fell into the river? Now, my first thought was, well, this area must be covered by CCTV. All of the exit routes must have some level of CCTV surveillance potentially, and they can see her going on the walk, but then not returning, not exiting. But if that is the case, and this area is so well surveilled by CCTV, then why has no CCTV footage of Nicola Bulley been released by the police? Now, my initial thoughts during the first few days of this case and this investigation was that this lady most likely did fall into the river. And that's mainly why I haven't created any content thus far on this case, because I just expected to wake up one morning for the sad news, or to the sad news I should say, that this lady's body had been found. But the longer that this goes on for, I'm starting to believe that there could be something else at play here. It's interesting what that forensic expert stated. He said normally when a person drowns and are left a couple of days, they don't move far, and this is not a fast tidal river. That was Peter Faulding who stated that back in that interview that I showed you earlier. Yet we're well over a week into this now. We're not talking about a hugely deep river, a fast flowing river. They've checked 9 miles. 9 miles of this river. Where could this lady be? Does it have something to do with CCTV somewhere? The fact that they have CCTV coverage, as I said earlier, of the exits on her walk, and they've checked that CCTV, they've seen her go on the walk but then disappear, basically. Is that why they are so convinced that she has fallen into the river? One thing that does concern me, and I will say this, is that the way that the police investigation was handled very early on, it's almost like they've got to the scene of the crime, or the scene of the incident, I should say. We don't know if any crime has taken place at this point. But they've got to the scene of this incident, and they've immediately assumed, I would say, that this lady has fallen into the river, based upon maybe the items found on the bench, or as I said earlier, the CCTV of her going on the walk, but then not returning, not exiting, or being seen on CCTV exiting that walk or ending that walk. But this scene, this incident scene, has been left completely uncovered. It hasn't been cordoned off. It's been accessible to the public, to reporters, to anyone who wants to go and see that bench or search for this individual, search for Nicola Bulley. It hasn't been protected or preserved in any way, shape or form. And that is quite worrying. I mean, logically, there must be a reason here why the police are really sticking to this hypothesis that she fell into the river. There must be something that's telling them that. And the only thing that I can suggest is, as I say, CCTV coverage. I mean, how else could they be so sure and so certain that this individual was not harmed, was not kidnapped, was not taken away somewhere? A lot, as I said earlier, will depend on the evidence which was found at the bench. The harness and the phone. We don't know the condition of those items. Did they have mud on them? Did they look like they'd been dropped, particularly the phone? We know that that phone was still connected to her work call. Did the dog somehow get into trouble? Did she take the harness off? Because that's what she would normally do when the dog went for a swim. For some reason, the dog got into some sort of difficulty, or maybe Nicola got too close to the edge and fell in. But it's a little bit strange that those items are on the bench. Now, that would suggest that she hasn't been caught off guard completely. She's had the presence of mind, if she is there, to put those items on the bench before heading into the water for whatever reason. It's not like she's fallen in with her phone in her hand. But I still think there's a clue here, depending on, as I say, the condition of those items. We can't say, can we, for certain that someone hasn't found those items somewhere else and placed them on the bench, hoping that the owner of those items will later discover them. We don't know if that's a possibility. Anyway, do leave your own thoughts and theories in the comment section below. Do you just believe that this is a tragic accident, or is there something else at play here? Do leave your own thoughts and theories in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up before you leave and subscribe to the channel below. And I look forward to seeing you all again for the next one. Take care. Cheers.